Okay, welcome to this stream. I guess today we're gonna review another vulnerability that also happens on the client side. So the template injection in the front end. So everybody probably know what is server-side template injection is, but maybe less people have heard about client-side template injection. So today we're gonna be exploring those type of vulnerabilities. We will probably review some reports as well on the hacker one. We're gonna continue with Beyond XSS series as well. So it's coming to almost to the end, to the chapter 3 of those series. They actually took way longer than expected because we were exploring more stuff on the go. So, but I guess the plan for this month is just complete some part of it at least, and we will see, like maybe I will do another month like for other type of vulnerabilities for sure. All right, so without further ado, let's get started. So let me share this one. So template injection in the front end, CSTI. So CSTI, short for client-side template injection, refers to a template injection in the front end. Since there is a front-end version, there is also a corresponding back-end version called SSTI, which stands for server-side template injection. Like many people mostly know this. This is like more commonly known ones, but this also could happen in the client side, right? Before introducing the front-end version, let's take a look at the back-end version. Yeah, so people usually start with this one, server-side template injection. When writing back-end code that needs to output HTML, you can choose directly to output like pure PHP. So this is how you can use PHP language, and inside like PHP tag inside the HTML, and then inside it will just use echo, and you can like echo tags, HTML tag. However, there are dynamic parts in HTML. The code becomes more and more complex. Therefore, in real development, a thing called template engine is usually used, which we briefly mentioned when talking about sanitization. For example, on my blog's article page, there is a part of template like this. Yeah, so this is like article right here. They are using some kind of templates. So usually developers, as they are developing web pages, they do use those just to simplify, to not like write the same code over and over and over again, usually at the front end. But at the front end itself, they can choose to use like backend code, like if they use like PHP or something, they could choose using template engines, and there are many different ones. So this is what they're actually using. All right, and there are, for different templating engines, there will be different syntax. When rendering, I just pass the post object and combine template render to complete article page. So yeah, post title. So basically from the backend, they will just send the post object, and that post object will exist on that page, and then he could use like different values of that object. So for example, title, categories length. So, and there you can also use if functions on the template. So template injection does not mean attackers can manipulate data like post, but rather attackers can manipulate the template itself. For example, let's say there is marketing email service. Usually companies import user data into their own templates like this. So hi, name right here. Do you find your own product fix your needs? If not, feel free to schedule a brief 10-minute online meeting with me at your convenience. You can make a reservation, ahref, link, and queue email here. So I guess those two comes from the user, and the name itself comes from the user. But what if you use those values like those user values as the payloads. Like I highly recommend every time to try, like, as your personal information on the account, not only try for some XSS payloads. You can also try for template injection payloads like 7 times 7. If your name is 7 times 7 and it returns 49 or something, it means that something happened at the back end which made like this template to work. Alright, then the template is directly used by the backend using Python with Jinja 2. As the example, it would look like this. So right here, it looks like this on the template. So this is like the template string. This is the data used. So the name will be Peter, the link. So imagine this data is just coming from the user, not like from the server like it's specified here. So the final output will be like this. It's like Peter, the link. So the link is this one, and the email right here. It looks fine, but if we modify the template like this, okay, yeah, okay, template string output, yeah. So this, I guess, if you know a little bit about Python, this is just importing OS library and then using that library function you name, and then like outputs the result of that function. So it will basically just execute Linux command, as far as I say. It will output Darwin. So you name will like output the OS type. So Darwin, the result of uname command. In simple terms, you can think of contents inside this as the code that template engine will execute for you. And right here is like Python templating engine, what mentioned previously, Jinja 2 or something, but there might be other. So what I recommend when like fuzzing those, you want to use multiple different like values like this, like try those, try like previously seen those, and there are some like nice word lists for that. But inside, what I like to do is like try use some kind of calculation like 7 times 7 or 8 times 8, or like two huge numbers, and you have to know like what is the result of those two numbers. And if you see that result reflected somewhere, it means that either there is server-side template injection, or as we will learn later, there could be some other stuff as well, like client-side one. Alright, vulnerability that allows attackers to control the template is called template injection. When, okay, no, let's read this one. I think I skipped this one. Although we used only write simple name, we can actually do more operations such as name plus email. In this case above, it starts self and uses Python magic to read import, allowing the importing of other modules and achieving the command execution. Yeah, like right here. And on the different programming languages and different templating engines, the syntax will be different as well. So what I recommend if you're trying to exploit this is just use things like payload all the things, or like Hacktrix, CSTI, and this is like really good area. If you like initially discovered template injection, use this as the reference. Like you have to firstly you have to fuzz to understand which programming language it is and which type of templating engine it is. And once you know that, according to that you will like specify and choose the specific payloads. But we won't go deep into that because this is like different topic, but just have to know that there's some like cool information that do already exist for that. All right, vulnerabilities that allow the control of template called template injection. When it occurs on the backend, it's called SSTI. When it occurs in the front end, it's called CSTI. The defense method is simple. Do not treat user input as the part of the template. If you must do so, make sure to check if the template engine provides sandbox feature that allows to execute untrusted code in the secure environment. So usually the template engines do usually allow like to use user values as the strings, but not as like regular command. So okay, is the audio good right now? Sorry about that. So yeah, so basically this is the really simple defense mechanism. You have to just make sure that all the data that's coming from the user is treated as strings, not like as a part of the template code. Okay, real world examples of SSTI. The first example is the vulnerability discovered by Orange in Uber in 2016. Well, yeah, this one was known quite a long time ago. One day, Orange suddenly noticed 2 in the email sent by Uber and remembered that they have entered like this syntax in the name field. As I said, like use some kind of multiplication, addition, or subtraction, but I highly recommend use higher numbers, you know, because that could be just a coincidence from time to time. This is common technique when looking for SSTI vulnerabilities. Then there are a lot of payloads entered in the input fields to check if there are any SSTI issues based on the results. Then they use the technique mentioned above to find which variables can be used and concatenated. Since Uber also uses Jinja 2, the final payload is similar to what we just wrote, and they've successfully achieved RCE, remote code execution, using SSTI. Yeah. For more detailed process, you can refer Uber remote code execution via Flask Jinja template injection. We won't review this for now because this is like a little bit different topic, even though it's quite connected. The second example is handlebars SSTI in Shopify, reported by Muhammad Gamal in 2019. Shopify merchant backend has a feature that allows merchants to customize the emails sent to users, similar to the example I mentioned earlier. They can use syntax like order.number to customize the content. The backend uses Node.js with handlebars as the template engine. Because handlebars has some protections and it's more complex, hackers spend a lot of time to figure out how to attack it. After all, having SSTI one thing, but not every template engine can be exploited for RCE. Yeah, that's also a pretty good point. Even though you can like see multiplication result, it doesn't mean that it could be still fully exploitable, because that do happen as well. The final payload they come up is very long. All right. Ooh. Yeah, looks extremely complicated. Like to decrypt this, all of this would take some time. Yeah, but details can be found in the original author on the original article by the author. Handlebars template injection at RCE in the Shopify app. And I think there is also the video in Bug Bounty Reports Explained YouTube channel about this as well. I think he has a video about template injection, and that was the exact case what he's shown. Like, I'm not sure, but I think so. I could be wrong. All right. So finally, client-side template injection. Once we know how to do this on the server side, now it's time to check the front end. Understanding CSTI becomes easier after understanding SSTI, as the principles are similar. The only difference is being that this template is front-end template. Wait, there are templates in the front end too? Of course. but those are not really commonly used as far as I know. I'm not front-end developer for sure, but I know that some frameworks do use those. I think AngularJS is pretty famous one that actually uses front-end. Yeah, for example, Angular is the one. Here's an example from Angular official website. So okay, it uses import of the certain packages, the component. Okay, selector, standalone. I'm not sure. I'm not really familiar with AngularJS, like Angular, not AngularJS. AngularJS, I think that was even older version, but right now they want to refer like from the second version and up to others, just Angular. So just Angular, I'm not sure if, like, I'm not really familiar with the syntax, but I know they use templates from time to time. So you can clearly see parameter called template. Where it is? Where it is that parameter? Am I really that blind? Oh, here it is. Okay. So inside this there is a template description, template like components markup, and there is a button, and there are some kind of functions, and it basically, once you click on the button, what it will do, it will display the counts, how many times you clicked, I guess. Yeah, that could be true. All right. Call template. If you change the count to constructor alert like this, you will see an alert window pop up. Using constructor alert 1, because the template cannot directly access window, so the new function is created through the function constructor. Yeah, it's kind of weird syntax. I'm not sure, like, I'm not front-ender, but what I would do, I would also go to the Actrix and like try to see if I discovered that it's vulnerable just by fuzzing. In the Angular documentation, it is mentioned in Angular's cross-site scripting security model. Unlike values to be used for rendering, Angular templates are considered trusted by default, Angular templates, and should be treated as an executable code. Never create templates by concatenating user input or template syntax. Yeah, so this is like a new, not new, but pretty interesting attack vector where you could expect to, like, as the end result, could expect some JavaScript to be run and XSS, for example. Doing this would enable attackers to inject arbitrary code into your application. Templates should be treated as executable code, and user control over templates should be never allowed. By the way, do you know the difference between AngularJS and Angular? Yeah, I know the difference. So from the version 2, it's called Angular, and like old, extremely old version is called AngularJS. Okay, when it was first released, it was called AngularJS, and the version numbers like this, but after version 2 it was called renamed Angular with similar usage but rewritten design. We will mainly refer old version AngularJS because it has more issues due to its age and library suitable for assisting attacks. Yeah, I guess AngularJS, the version 1 or like older, had more template injection vulnerabilities for sure. So when AngularJS was first released, executing arbitrary code was also possible using constructor. However, starting from version 1.2, a sandbox mechanism was added to prevent access to window in every possible way. But when it comes to attack and defense security, researchers will not lose. And they have found ways to bypass sandbox. Of course they did. The cycle of being bypassed, strengthening the sandbox, and being bypassed again continued. Finally, AngularJS announced the complete removal of sandbox after version 1.6. The reason that's that the sandbox is not actually a security feature. In your template can be controlled, and that should be a problem to solve, not the sandbox. Details can be found in original announcement article. AngularJS expression sandbox bypass. More bypass history could be found like here. But yeah, you can read those, but as far as I know right now, AngularJS will be only used maybe on the like legacy systems. It's not quite popular these days, I'm pretty guaranteed. If you are testing relatively new, fresh targets, they won't probably use AngularJS. In AngularJS 1x versions, it was more convenient and easy to use, requiring only an element with ng app. Okay, so it had ng app, hello world to uppercase. Yeah, and it's basically using this as a function. Okay. Let me see one thing real quick. Alright. Although ideally the entire frontend should be controlled by AngularJS with the communication backend through APIs, and the backend should not be involved in rendering the view. At that time, the concept of single page application was not popular yet, and many websites still had a backend responsible for rendering the view. Therefore, it was very likely to write the following code. Just using PHP. All right, inside the AngularJS. All right, insert the data directly into the HTML when rendering on the backend. Although the above code has encoded the input, there are no illegal characters in alert 1, so it can still lead to XSS. The defense method is the same as CSTI. Never treat user input as part of the template content, or it can easily cause issues. Yeah, exactly. Let's take a hot case as an example. Masato Kinugawa, a cybersecurity researcher from Japan, demonstrated an RCE vulnerability in Microsoft communication software Teams during Pwn to Own in 2022. By sending a message to the target, one can execute code on their computer. This vulnerability earned a price of, whoa, a lot of money, 150k at Pwn to Own. Teams desktop software is built with Electron, so essentially it's a web page. Yep, so even though it's desktop software, it runs Electron, which is based on I think JavaScript, so that's why. To achieve RCE, the first step is usually to find XSS, which allows executing JavaScript code on the web page. Teams also handle user input. Both frontend and backend have sanitizers to remove strange things and ensure the final rendered content is safe. Although some HTML can be controlled, many attributes and the content are filtered. For example, even for class names, only certain class names are allowed. Masato discovered the sanitizer has some room for manipulating class names. For example, there is a rule like Swift, both Swift ABC and this are allowed as class names. Alright, but what the use of only manipulating the class names? Okay, here is a key. Teams webpage is written in AngularJS, which has many magical features. One of them is ng-init attribute used for initialization like this. Okay, this will display test on the page, indicating that the code inside ng-init is executed. So if the change ng-init constructor the alert will pop up. Now, what does have to do with the class name mentioned earlier? It turns out that this ng-init can also be used inside the class name like this. Alright, therefore combining the class name, checking rules mentioned earlier, we can construct the class name that contains the payload mentioned above to successfully execute XSS. The original article also includes the section how AngularJS parses class name and bypasses AngularJS sandbox for this version. Transforming XSS into RC requires some effort, but since these are not related to CSTI discussed in this article, they are skipped. I highly recommend checking out the original presentation, how I hacked Microsoft Teams and got a lot of money basically. By the way, Masato is really amazing. Many of his technical articles have impressed me. His understanding of frontend, JavaScript and AngularJS is top-notch, but like AngularJS is extremely old. Alright, let's check the chat. Hey Artali, I'm on... Oh, come on. Hey Artali, I'm on YouTube. In my PC, came here to say hi. Hey, thank you. Hello. You are welcome on my stream every time. You can join, but I probably... This is like the last week this month that I will be streaming, so yeah, that's cool. But you are free to rewatch anytime later on YouTube or even on Twitch for sure. So yeah, that's cool. All right, AngularJS and CSP bypass. AngularJS is the most commonly used in practice for CSP bypass. If you can find AngularJS within the paths allowed by CSP, there is a high chance of bypassing it. For example, CSP policy, it allows scripts from CDN.js, cloudflare.com. I will do the streams, but maybe not so often, like not every day. Because for the challenge I was planning to do streams every day, but you have to understand, like either I will do streams daily, or I will be producing like contents more, YouTube content more often. Like my plan for the next month will be to produce more YouTube content, because yeah, it does take time, and I do this like mostly as a hobby right now. I'm not really making a lot of from YouTube or streaming, so like still bug bounties are my main income. So but I might do other like 1 month challenge where I will stream every day as well, so keep that in mind, but maybe not next month. All right. Okay, let's continue. CSP is strict and only allows CDN.js, cloudflare.com. But this allows us to introduce AngularJS, resulting in XSS. Right. Although it may seem simple upon closer inspection, it is not easy. Think about it. CSP does not have unsieve eval, so no strings can be executed as code. But then how are all of those strings inside ngFocus executed? Isn't that executing strings as code? This is where AngularJS shines. In the default mode, AngularJS uses eval or similar methods to parse the strings you pass in. However, if you add ngCSP, it tells AngularJS to switch to different mode. It will use its own implemented interpreter to parse the strings and execute corresponding actions. Therefore, you can think of it as AngularJS implementing its own eval function to execute strings as code without these default functions. Alright. Then discussing this CSP earlier, I mentioned that by making the path configuration more strict, you can reduce the risk rather than completely eliminate the risk. An example I gave was setting Google reCAPTCHA instead of like simple Google. In fact, Google CTF 2023 there was a challenge to bypass CSP of Google reCAPTCHA, and the solution used AngularJS. This is why I said that strict path can reduce the risk but cannot completely avoid it. If you're interested in AngularJS TSP bypass, you can refer to my previous article, Automatically Finding Alternatives to Prototype JS in AngularJS TSP bypass, which introduces another bypass method. Alright, let's see. Conclusion. The CSTI discussed this time, it's also type of non-direct execution of JavaScript attack. When you encode all the output and think of it secure, don't forget that your frontend has AngularJS. Attackers can achieve XSS through seemingly secure those using CSTI. Although there are fewer and fewer websites using AngularJS, yeah, this is like the key takeaway from this article. It is right now, these days, it is really low chance of you finding this bug, because I'm not sure, like, if I know many other mainstream frameworks that it is possible to do this type of attack. Like, I would rather look for SSTI, like not this one, because there is low probability of that occurring. But yeah, just in case, if on your Vapalizer you will see AngularJS, you might want to try those for sure. Okay, and fewer people treat user input as part of the template. The world is not lacking in vulnerabilities, but in discoveries. Yeah, that's kind of good mindset, but you have to also think in probabilities. If you're not doing pen test, if you're doing bug bounties, you have to think in probabilities for sure, because you are competing against thousands of other people. Many vulnerabilities have simply not been discovered yet. If your service uses AngularJS, make sure there is no CSTI issues. Alright, so this was basically it about this type of vulnerability type. So I guess right now it's time to look for some reports. Not sure if I want to check other. This might be interesting, but like, I'm not sure if I really want to spend a lot of time on this vuln type. Let's try to check maybe a couple of those. This was treated as informative self-denial of service, so it is as same as self-XSS, so this is not really interesting one. Okay, it was found on wordpress.org, reflected XSS via AngularJS template injection. And the follow-up to result report, it was possible to achieve reflected XSS on this website with AngularJS injection payload. And this one was extremely old, 7 years ago. And as I said, like, AngularJS not too mainstream nowadays. So this was confirmed in latest stable Firefox and Safari builds. Hi, by injecting the crafted AngularJS payload into search endpoint on WordPress Swag Store, it was possible to achieve reflected XSS. Further to resolve report this one. I came across the exploitation vector after noticing the search query return for in the site response. Like, even if this one, like this payload returns 4, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's client-side template injection. It could also mean that it could be server-side as well. So we have to firstly identify. Yeah, in React, I don't think you can test, like, find a lot of CSTIs. I'm not sure. I haven't actually read any research about React, but in regards to AngularJS, yeah, I know it's kind of possible. But with newer versions of Angular, I'm not really sure. Like, I'm like myself personally, I don't test for those type of issues because the probability is extremely low that you're gonna find something. So I think when I'm like looking for vulns, I think in probabilities usually. That's why I'm like If the probability of this occurring is low, I won't test that. But what I do every time, I usually check, okay, AngularJS. It is still being used on HackerOne itself, so I guess it's not completely dead, as you can see right here. But yeah, all right. Or maybe, let's see, just hackeron.com. It could be mistakenly detected by Vapalizer because this does use in the title, so it could also, like, false positives could happen. Don't rely on Vapalizer all the time. All right, so by this payload he discovered 4, and my recommendation is like use higher numbers because sometimes that could be just a coincidence. So yeah, this one, proof of concept URL. So basically he just injected in the search. As we can see, what is interesting right here, this URL does not use any query value, so we just basically inject it inside the URL path. So that's kind of interesting. Like payload, the report is extremely simple. He haven't even like wrote the description, just maybe a couple of lines. Like he mentioned the browsers, and proof of concept is just one line. But when it comes to the reflected XSS, I guess the reports could be as simple as that. It saves a lot of time for the treasures, so I get that. If we post our bounties on LinkedIn and make a strong profile, can we get pentesting work from there? If you actually just yeah, you don't want to disclose like the details, but you can post some things on your LinkedIn profile, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're actually good at cybersecurity or pen tester job. It definitely, it's gonna bump your resume, but what I would do instead is add the links to your HackerOne or BugRoute profile. If your profile on those platforms, not only those but like maybe other platforms what you're currently hunting on, if your profile looks decent, you don't actually need to post every day. So I'm just, I don't know, like you can just insert some links, but maybe it will grab attention for some people. Definitely could grab some attention, but not sure. I haven't heard any like success story that people seen the post of certain amount of bounty and then they got invited for certain job. But I guess some people could start talking about you, so in some case, yeah, maybe that could be thing to do. But what I recommend as well, like at the beginning, just include the links at least. All right. So this one was really simple one, but as we can see from the year when it was published, like disclosed, the disclosed actually means that it was not reported. The reported was even earlier the same year. So yeah, this one is very old report. Let's see, maybe we can, okay, this is just a profile. This one is earlier on the Shopify. Server-side template injection on Shopify. Supporting material. Does he actually earn some bounty for this? Okay, this one is newer report, but I guess we're gonna check on Shopify. He also has a blog post with explanation how this was exploited. Sometimes reading some blog posts is really good because for some people they could explain like their mindset, which is also pretty good as well. But let's read the report. What is the final of his work? So possible template injection in return magic email templates. I have been playing with return magic workflow email templates, and there seems to be some kind of template injection, but I'm not sure if it's exploitable or even valid. And I'm not even sure. Oh, this is server side. Come on, this is like not even client side. This is also server side. Come on. Let's use client side template injection. There, as you can see, there are not so many reports when it comes to this, and most of those reports are, if they do exist, they are extremely old. This is not even disclosed. Okay, this one is newer, but it's on VDP, Department of Defense. And if you want your profile look really good, if you like want to farm easy points, you can hunt on VDPs. Still, those points could, like, you can get a lot of points on HackerOne, and easiest target to farm a lot of points is this one. Yeah, it's extremely easy. Like, I found critical in like 1 or 2 hours. I found one high and one critical. Like, it's extremely easy to find the bugs there. So if you're just looking for points, not for bounties, you can try Department of Defense. It will highly increase your like, it will bump up your profile for sure on HackerOne. So sometimes for some companies, this could be like, only points could be indication that you know something at least. So I don't know, if you are looking for a job. Yeah, is hunting on DoD. Yeah, it's even for the beginners. I mean, if you are starting out, the scope on DoD is extremely large. Like, a lot of websites and a lot of people are working there, so it's really a large attack surface, and it's VDP. So the best hunters usually don't hunt on VDPs these days. So HackerOne or Buckroute, which one you prefer more? I started with Buckroute actually, but with the HackerOne, like, recently I started pay more attention to HackerOne because of like higher bounties and some programs what I really like. Mostly these days I'm hunting on Amazon VRP. It's actually bug bounty program, so their bounty table are really good. So for criticals they pay from 12k up to 25k. So I earned some crits, but I don't want to disclose what type of vulnerabilities, because we don't like people disclosing vulnerabilities on public. So I won't disclose, but I got to see there are bugs to find for sure. And Amazon is pretty good company. They have very large scope. Not everything is in scope, but definitely there is some places where you can spot some easy bugs for sure, but you have to invest a long time, like in any other company. So yeah, right now I'm focusing on HackerOne. Okay, XSS via client side template injection on news speeches. Okay, dear DoD team, I'm able to execute JavaScript code on this website. This endpoint has search functionality with parameter search, and search functionalities are really interesting for XSS hunting. So you can find a lot of XSS on search, and not only XSS, as you know, client-side template injection is also possible. And maybe even prototype pollution. So as we've seen before, the supplied value to this parameter gets embedded into the website. Furthermore, the front end of the website presumably created with template engine. These engines handle user supplied data with double curly braces. For example, if user input is not sanitized correctly, the template injection can occur. When supplying search parameter with value inside curly braces, it gets evaluated with result embedded in the web page. For example, search value like 7 times 7, the favorite payload of everyone, gets evaluated to 49 to put on the web page, like see as an image 1. Besides the simple mathematical equations, JavaScript can be put inside those braces, inside the image 2. Where is the images? Come on. I cannot see the images. This will execute the code. This will results. Okay. See, finally, this is the code. So window evolve, window a top. This is actually using some kind of obfuscation, and he also uses base64 payload. So yeah, this is pretty interesting. This is one of the ways how you can bypass some kind of firewalls. Sure. POC videos attached, and we do not see images right here, so it's kind of bummer. But I think this was AngularJS, and as you can see, even though this was from the last year, it is still possible to find those, like, but mostly in VDPs. I think those still be possible to find, and on VDPs that has really large scope. So yeah, DoD potentially. Damn, utterly juicy bounties. Yeah, now these people doesn't post flex their bounties on Twitter. I have no not everyone. Usually people post bounties when they like get criticals or highs mostly, but my feed is full of those actually. So when I check some profiles, when all of what we do actually is just post bounties but do not include any tips and stuff like that, sometimes I do unfollow those people, because what's the point? Like, you're just spamming my timeline. It's extremely annoying. So I get that you want, you know, to be proud but you did some work, but if that is only what you do on your X profile, I don't want to follow you. This is like my mindset, at least for those people, you know. Makes sense, I guess. Yeah, so as you can see, the payloads, this is not really a lot of things, but we can actually discuss about this vulnerability type. This is pretty straightforward, and it's mostly happens on AngularJS, so I guess we can try checking other reports, but we're gonna look pretty similar. It is also on AngularJS, on Zendesk. Disclosed report. Oh, it's from James Cattle. He's really good hacker. Yeah, just flexing the bounties and gatekeeping tips tricks is frustrating. Yeah, and I don't get some people like what's the point to be like to flex and not like share anything? What's the point? That's crazy. I cannot really wrap my head around like why you even have a social media, you know? It's just annoying a lot of people. I actually had some experience with Zendesk. I actually tried hunting on that program, but I had really bad experience with their trash team, so I stopped hunting on there. And as you can see, even like really good hacker submitted bug for them. He found stored XSS, but I cannot see any bounty, and I cannot see really any severity. It looks like this one of those cases when they actually, oh, you will be awarded for $50. Seriously? Zendesk, come on. Oh my god. $50 for stored XSS. I have no words. Zendesk, seriously. Maybe they were just starting out. I'm not sure like how much time Zendesk bug bounty program exists. Oh, it was existing for 1 year. So existing for 1 year and just $50. Seriously? That's why I'm not hunting on this program. It's kinda a joke. It seem like if you are paying this amount for the people who spend a long time on your platform, you're just mocking those people. This is like similar as VDP. Jesus. L Zendesk. Yeah. What's the point just leaving like this, not including the report itself? I don't get why HackerOne does this these days. I don't know. Alright, I cannot see the more reports. There might be some policy versions. Alright, never mind. So yeah, for today I guess that's gonna be it. There is not really much things that we can discuss about this type of bug. It's pretty straightforward, it's pretty simple. So I guess what I can say for those people who are still watching these streams, you're really dedicated as me. I'm very dedicated person. If I have a goal to like stream for 1 month, I will do that. So even though I seen some people like not get interested for like don't usually people these days don't have that amount of attention span, so per se. So like I'm doing this every day. Not every people, I know this is learning and it takes a long time. Not every people has that amount of energy as me, so I get that. So that's why I have this challenge. But if I will be doing this for longer time, I guess the more and more people like will be less interested. So that's why I gonna stream still for this week, and then still I gonna do some stuff on the content side. What's for tomorrow? So for tomorrow my plan is to cover CSS injection. CSS injection vulnerability type is really interesting one. For me it is also pretty interesting. I know those do exist. I never went too deep into it, but I guess for tomorrow and the day after I will spend only for CSS injection, and maybe if we will have time we can like check this article. But not only beyond XSS, I will also try to create my own lab as well. So alright, thanks for tier 2. I was on your third and fourth follow here on Twitch. Yeah. Glad that you liked the material there, but as I said, like I will be updating each week. I will add some vulnerability types that we already discovered on these streams. It will be condensed to like a bit to like lesser information, and I have some plans as well. I might even create some private videos to like also include a part of these vulnerability types. I wanna hunt on DoD now. What bugs should look as for the beginner? As for the beginner, CSS, like not CSS, cross-site scripting and IDORs are the easiest low-hanging fruit. But like on DoD, what you can even do, you can do some like simple Google dorking, and with like you can even find bugs with Google dorking. So I will quickly show you. I don't want to accidentally leak something, but what you can do on DoD, just use site mil like this dork, and after this you can just write like certain parameters what is prone to XSS, like search, like you can see the Q search, SPX, topics, blah blah blah. So you can do this. You can check for like Q, like Q equals maybe. What you can also do, you can look for certain leaks. Though like DoD has so many leaks So many data is being leaked every day on DoD. So you can use like PDF extensions and look for word like confidential, classified, like this, and you can use like with other words like password, maybe SSN. I don't want to accidentally leak something, but you will get the idea. You want to look for PDF files with some sensitive data, like think of personal names, emails with SSN numbers, maybe some leaked passwords, stuff like that. Sometimes it should be meant for public, so keep that in mind, but you have to like open your mind a little bit and think. When you open the document, you have to think if it's meant to be public or not. Sometimes there could be, for example, presentation, so even though it's written confidential, it doesn't actually mean that it's actually confidential. So you can start just looking for some file leaks. This is really low-hanging fruit as the beginner. Fuck, sorry, you cannot see the screen. Yeah, so you can use site mil like this, you know, use extension dork for PDF, and you can like use word as classified or confidential like this, and use with other words like email or password or like SSN even. You can use those words, and those are really low-hanging fruits. So you can use this, or you can use like search for certain values that is mostly known for to have like client-side bugs like as XSS, so QS search, for example. Just go here, open this, and you just go for each of that website and try to like inject some kind of simple payloads. Like even simplest payloads could still work. Why are we using mil? Because the websites that end with .mil are the military websites, and all the military websites, basically mostly all of those are in the scope of DoD. So this is extremely large target, like really a lot of websites. Access denied. I think they blocked me a while ago. Sometimes even if you are using VPNs, some websites know about VPNs and they will block you just because you are using VPN, so keep that in mind. So yeah, this is really easy target to get a lot of points, but don't spend too much time hunting on VDPs. If you are just want to bump up your profile a little bit just for the sake for finding cybersecurity job, yeah, you can do that. GitHub tokens, if it's VDP, yeah, you can find that, but you will be spending way too much time for like doing GitHub dorking, because there are so many people like doing automation on GitHub. Like they are crawling every freaking hour, every website, and checking for leaks. So it is really high competition for those. But you can try for VDPs for sure. For VDPs there will be less people. Yeah. So yeah, that was basically it for today. Let's guys see you for tomorrow and the day after. So we will be exploring thing called CSS injection. And yeah, I haven't found anything valid till now. Think VDP, fine, good bugs. What is your opinion? Is this right way? As the beginner, you should focus more on learning first instead of finding bugs first. You have to like really understand some basic bugs really well and then start hunting. And also what I suggest is focus on that functionality that you have to register account, and like after login functionality, I call this authenticated functionality. Usually less people look there. so you have to also check those. Learn about IDORs, authentication bugs, and XSS. Start with those and learn some like basic Google dorking. I have some videos and articles about like leak detection, so just check my blogs as well. Yeah, solving some labs, it's alright, but you have to understand like learning is like you can learn every day like something new, even though if you're like just read about vulnerability, it doesn't mean that you know everything about it. Trust me, there is like every day you can add bit by bit something new. So yeah, all right, I have to go actually right now, so thank you for joining.